The problem with overpowered protagonists is not their strength. It is how that strength is used. Overpowered protagonists have become common in modern anime. They appear in isekai. They appear in battle shonen. They appear in fantasy series of all kinds. Many of these stories begin with a character who is already powerful. Others make the character powerful very quickly. In both cases, few obstacles feel capable of stopping them. This trend is often criticized, but usually for the wrong reason. Power itself does not ruin a story. Poor handling of power does. A character being extremely strong does not automatically make a story worse. Some respected anime characters are undeniably powerful. Edward Elric, Gojo Satoru, Saitama. What separates these characters from weaker writing is not their strength. It is how that strength functions inside the narrative. Power becomes a problem when it removes uncertainty. When the audience knows the protagonist will win easily, conflict loses its purpose. Fights stop being struggles. They become demonstrations. At that point, power stops serving the story. It begins to replace it. Stories rely on tension to remain engaging. Tension comes from uncertainty. It comes from the possibility of failure. It comes from meaningful consequences. An overpowered protagonist removes these elements unless the story compensates elsewhere. If a character cannot lose physically, tension must shift. It must move toward moral consequence, emotional cost, strategic limitation, or irreversible sacrifice. When stories fail to make this shift, conflict loses weight. Scenes may look intense, but they no longer feel uncertain. The audience stops asking how the character will survive. They start asking how quickly the conflict will end. Poor handling of power also affects character growth. When strength solves every problem, the protagonist has little reason to change. Mistakes carry no weight. Decisions become obvious. Growth slows. Sometimes it stops entirely in these stories. Power replaces development instead of supporting it. The narrative no longer demands reflection, or adaptation, or sacrifice. The world simply bends around the protagonist's strength. This is why many overpowered characters feel emotionally flat. Not because they lack personality, but because the story no longer pressures them to evolve. Overpowered protagonists can work when conflict is reeve. In stronger narratives, tension does not come from whether the character can win a fight. It comes from what winning costs. Power becomes responsibility. It becomes isolation. It becomes moral compromise. The central question changes. Not can the protagonist win, but what will they lose by winning? Overpowered protagonists are not ruining anime. What weakens modern storytelling is the belief that power alone can carry a narrative. Strength without limitation removes tension. Tension without consequence removes meaning. When stories remember this, power becomes a tool, not a crutch. And when they do not, even the strongest characters feel weightless.